be recognized. First and foremost, people that have created chapters. So Joe, Caleb, Andrew Bays, Caleb O'Neill, and especially big shout out to, and then obviously Jessamine just got her chapter. You go, girl. That was a huge target and much appreciated.
I've been working so hard on it, so I'm super excited.
Girl, I know. I've been there every step of the way. But yes, I'm very proud that we got that in. Guys, turn on your faces. This is no fun. And then a special shout out to Chris Harrelson, not only because he got 2 chapters this month, which is phenomenal, and super early in the month, which is great. But he's just all around on top of things. Like I asked him for something from his chapter presidents, and he's, in great communication there, updates his chapter notes. He's really kind of mastered the basics and has been able to rise above and beyond his role as state chair. So he's really setting the pace for the rest of the region right now. And I really commend you, Chris, even though I can't see your face, for everything that you're doing in Utah. Guy has 50 people registered for the summit, and there's some closer states that don't even have half of that. So it's absolutely insane. Great. So any additional shout outs that y'all want to give to your people or to each other, or just some good stuff that's happened in your state? Or to yourself,
Yeah, I want to shout out Brad Foster from NDSU for getting his free speech activism done today. He has a meeting with staff senate, so we're looking at actually completing the policy change in a week to 2 weeks. So, hopefully, if all goes as planned, which, it kind of never does, but if it can, theoretically, we'll be done pretty soon.
That's fantastic. Yeah, Bradley's doing great. And he is coming to LibertyCon this weekend, so I'm super excited. Jessamine, are you coming? You're working that campaign, so I'm assuming you're not coming to LibertyCon, correct?
No, I'm not going to be there. Sorry.
Round of applause for Jessamine.
I know, sorry. It's because I'm in a meeting with that campaign while I'm in a meeting with you guys. So sorry. But I'm listening.
You're hilarious. Okay. But Chris will be there. Jay Ham, you're not going to be at LibertyCon this weekend, correct? Okay, cool. Great. So I'll see some of you. And if any of you have chapter presidents that are coming as well, let me know. I'm looking to set up just some very informal meetings, getting to know people better, knocking out any action items that we need to knock out. So especially for those of you who will be there and will have chapter leaders there, let's set up some times to talk, because I'll be tabling for part of the time. So I'll be there. Great. So let's dive right in with chapter creation. And y'all probably know the story with this month. Not great. And I just really want to point out, when I said at the beginning of the month to get your chapter within the first 2 weeks, the impact of not doing that on the region was actually pretty hefty. And I just want to go through why that's important to get it done pretty early, is because when most of the team doesn't have a chapter created in the 3rd and 4th week of the month, that obviously has to be your top priority. So I can't ask you to do things like help me with confirming for summit, or help me with bring them home applications in. When y'all aren't able to create the chapter in the first 2 weeks, then it's the weight has to go somewhere. And a lot of times it's on me or on other people on the team. So just something to be cognizant of for next month is first week, if not, 2nd week would be, not as great, but hopefully in the first week, we will all be on the board for chapter creation. Because when push comes to shove, people are creating chapters now in the last 2 days of the month. And it's probably just a matter of time management or reorganizing. Something works when, you have to create a chapter, people are able to. So we just really got to get on that at the beginning of the month, next month. It's an absolute must. And it'll just put everyone in a better place with everything. Because, I don't want to call y'all out, but I have had to pick up a lot of slack with Summit, and with Bring Them Home, we're not in a great place. So anyway, you get the narrative. Just create your chapters early next month. And I think that some of the other systems that we're going to put in place that I'll outline shortly will help us do that. All right. Any additional notes on chapter creation? Or thoughts or anything? Okay, cool. If you haven't created your chapter, which I'm pretty sure, so Jason's doing that now, so it's only Marcus. You do have some time left in the rest of the day to pull something out. So call through a list. You know, at this point, like, I don't want you to bring on someone that's not quality, but definitely that if you do have some hours later tonight, please plug in and just try to get that knocked out. Great. Alrighty, next thing that I want to briefly cover is just the basics. And I know you've heard this from me a million times and it's common knowledge, but it is absolutely not common practice right now to master the basics of your role. And what I mean by that, so chapter notes are atrocious right now. They are so bad. To update a chapter note, which has to be done on a weekly basis, you have to update the note date, which is the date that you write the note, the reply date, and the note itself. So if I see an updated note date or reply date, especially reply date, and I don't see any note, I'm wondering like what kind of communication you're having with that chapter leader. And honestly, like a lot of that just isn't happening at all right now. I can tell you, let me pull it up so I have an exact number. Hold tight just 1 second. Okay, it doesn't want to pull up, but I think it's something like around 30 chapters. It says that we haven't been in communication with, like they've gone out of date. So it's like we haven't been in communication with them for a couple weeks now, which is just unacceptable, especially if they're rising chapters, A chapters, B chapters, C chapters. Like weekly communication is a must there. And so either we are not communicating with chapters, we are not logging that we are communicating with chapters, but we actually are communicating with chapters. I guess those would be the two options. Hopefully it's the latter. I do hope that we're having communication with chapter presidents, although I will be honest with you, it's not with everyone. But I have called chapter leaders recently to talk about bring them home. And a question that I always ask is that, like, yeah, how's your relationship with your state chair going? Are they in good communication with you? I'm sure they've covered this. A lot of them haven't heard about bring them home. And a lot of them just haven't been in great communication with you. Like, yeah, they've been hard to get hold of, blah, blah, blah. And I get that, right? Because I am busy too. And I go through spurts where I'm a little bit hard to get a hold of. I have like 220 something messages in my text inbox from today just alone because of Summit outreach. So I get being busy and being hard to get a response out of, but weekly communication is a must. And that's all I'll say about that. But please be logging your notes. And like, it's not an option. It's part of your job. So chapter notes, chapter communication, event confirmation. When's the last time that we used the event confirmation thread? I basically have taken this as a task on my own too. Like I sent out a mail merge last week. Hey, what events have you done this semester? Because nothing was coming through. And there are at least 30 or 40 events that, bless his heart, Lucas Reed has to enter into the system because they are just not being reported accurately or logged, which either means, again, that it's not on your radar and you're not sure what events your chapters are doing, or they're just not accurately being put in the group chat. Both of which are problems. The bigger problem would be if you just didn't know about them at all. But hopefully it's just a matter of being consistent about mastering the basics, using the group chat, updating chapter notes. Like with Chris, for example, like his chapters will do events, and as soon as they do an event, it's in the notes, the chapter notes. And so he's really reliable where I can go and look at the notes and it's like, oh, this week, this chapter did this event, and this event. And I can just real quick catch up. So this all goes together, and I'm not accusing anyone of not doing their jobs, but I think that this has been a little bit of a lull month for everyone. And I get that we're all busy, but like, probation is a real option, and if people aren't going to do the bare minimums, then I'm sorry, but like your place is not on this team because Central is pretty kick-ass. So I'm not like, that's all I'll say about that. And I know y'all are better than that, which is why we're having this conversation, of course. All right, 2 more things. So office hours, I think, are something that people view as a suggestion, or you're plugging in, but there's no communication between us, which is just ineffective. So I'm going to make 2 requests about office hours and weekly calls, which is when you're plugging into office hours, and I will send them out again so that no one has to ask for them, because I'm sure people just aren't even sure when their office hours are. Please call me when you're plugging in for office hours. Every time. It'll be a 5-second phone call. Hey, Brittany, I'm plugging in for office hours. Great. What are you working on? I'm working on this, this, and this. How can I support you? And we can just have that communication so we're on the same page. We're working on the same things. I can make sure that priorities are straight with what we're working on. And that's it. So every time that you're plugging in for office hours, call me. If you don't call me within, first 5-10 minutes, I'll probably call you, and that will be a less pleasant conversation. So just be proactive and call me about that. Also, weekly calls. I realize that these have gone on the wayside. For me, to be quite frank, there are a million things that I've needed support from that I haven't been able to get support from. And so I've had to pick up a little bit of the slack there, which has shoved out weekly calls from both of our radars in some cases. So my request to you is to call me during your weekly call time. So yeah, the only change there is call me during office hours, and instead of me calling you, just call me during your weekly call time. And then I'll know that you're sitting down ready to go through chapters and everything else. Great. So that's everything that I had under the category of the basics. Does anyone have any questions, comments, any systems that you would improve, anything like that? All right, cool. Great. So Summit is the next conversation that we're going to have. And I really wish that we had more people on the call now, because this is like a huge change in pace from what we've been doing before. So everyone's just going to have to rewatch this and hopefully get this down, because I know a lot of people are busy right now. But so great. So with Summit, I realized that the 5 registrant per week minimum wasn't being met. And for a while, I was just getting like a little bit angry or disappointed about that. And recently, I really sat down and thought, okay, how are we actually going to get these people to turn out to Summit? And there's a lot of logistical steps that we need to be taken. A lot of the steps now have to do with confirmation, have to do with travel arrangements, all of that stuff. Like, that's the shift of pace that we should be seeing. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't be getting registrants. But for example, Mike is going to have to get a lot more registrants per week, because his people are only traveling, an hour or 2. So they don't really need to figure out travel accommodations. Whereas, Caleb Moore, who's overseeing the northern part of the state, like, his expectations are a lot different. So what I'm going to go through is a lot of math that I've done for each of you, with updated expectations, weekly goals, and also a bare minimum that y'all have to meet for Summit for people to show up from your state. So I'm just going to go through person by person. I'll probably send this in an email so you have it. So we'll start with Caleb. So Caleb's overseeing Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, and South Dakota. And I'm going to go through for each state that you're overseeing what the absolute bare minimum expectation is, which, to be clear, this is like to keep your job. This is how many people you have to get to Summit. So not like, what you should just end goal be striving for. And then I'll also put a goal, which is like, hey, if you got this many people from there, we'd be happy, good to go. So the expectation for Montana is 0. The expectation from Wyoming is 0, just because those are hard states. Those are definitely plane tickets. So expectation is, if you don't get anyone from Wyoming, where we don't even have a chapter currently, you're not going to lose your job, obviously. North Dakota, the bare minimum expectation is 8 people sitting in seats at Summit from North Dakota. The goal for North Dakota is 12 people. So a little bit of a difference there. South Dakota, bare minimum people and seats is 4 people. The goal is 8 people. So trying to figure out the best way to go through this. So currently in Montana, there are 2 registrants. To get to your goal of 4 registrants, you would need 7 total registrants. And how many registrants per week that is 1. So if you'll see how I go through this, Caleb now only has to get 1 registrant per week in Montana to reach his goal. Wyoming, currently 0 people registered. The goal is 4. So in order to reach 4, you'll need 7 people registered to account for attrition, which means that weekly you'll only need 1 person from Wyoming to reach that. North Dakota, currently 10 people are registered. Expectation is 8, goal of 12. So in order to reach those, you'll need between 14 and 20 total registrants, which is 1 to 2 per week from North Dakota. Okay. South Dakota, currently 2 people are registered from South Dakota. The expectation is 4. The goal is 8 butts and seats, which means that you'll have to get 7 to 14 total registrants from South Dakota to meet your minimum, which is 1 to 2 per week until summit. So next is Marcus. Marcus oversees Nebraska and Kansas. The bare minimum we want from Nebraska, we need from Nebraska is 8. The goal is 12. Currently, Marcus, you have 8 people registered. You need 14 to 20 total people registered to meet your minimum. And so that's 1 to 2 registrants from Nebraska total per week. So with Kansas, Kansas, absolute bare minimum expectation of 8, goal of 12 people in seats at summit. Currently, there are only 3 people registered from Kansas. So total, you would need 14 to 20 by summit people registered from Kansas, which is 2 to 3 per week registrants. So that's your new expectation. Chris Harrelson, you have an expectation and a goal of 50 because we just secured the bus, obviously. So 50 is what we are striving for, no more, no less. You currently have 48 people registered. To meet your total your bare minimum registration, you will need 84 total people registered, which is 6 people per week. All right, so that's accounting for attrition. Devin Johnson, so he has a 30-person bus, so his expectation and goal is 30, just no more, no less than 30. He currently has 45 people registered, 24 bus tickets sold, by the way, Devin, whenever you watch this, so you have that number. And so you'll need a total registration goal of 50 by the summit, which is 1 per week. So Devin's new goal per week, or expectation per week, is not 5, it's 1. So Caleb O'Neill, who's also not on, he needs a bare minimum of 16 people at summit. So it's 4 carpools, a goal of 25 people at summit. So that means, currently he has 18 people registered. To account for attrition, he will need to have 27 to 42 total people registered by summit, which is 2 to 5 per week. So he'll still be reaching 5 some weeks. Jessamine, expectation bare minimum for you is 16 people from New Mexico at summit. That's the expectation. Goal of 25. So from 16 to 25 is the good range. Goal of 20, not 25. So currently you have 26 people registered. In order to account for attrition, you'll need 27 to 34. So realistically, you only need 1 person per week registered until summit to meet your minimum. And as we confirm people that aren't able to go, that may rise or fall a little bit, but around 1 per week, in addition to everything you're doing with confirmations. Mike Anderson, Texas is obviously pulling most of the weight here. We need a bare minimum of 200 people from Texas alone. Goal of 300 people from Texas. So Currently, Mike's at 265 people registered from Texas, which is fan-freaking-tastic. In order to reach his bare minimum, oh, hey, Mike. We're actually going through numbers, which is really funny because we're on Texas now. So we're going through state-by-state expectations and what you're currently at, what you'll need total, and so your new weekly goal. So Texas bare minimum expectation is 200 people in seats at Summit. Your goal is 300 people in seats at Summit. Currently, you have 265 people registered. And so your total registration goal to account for attrition is 334 to 500 people registered. So your new weekly goal is somewhere around 10 to meet that goal. Great. So Jason Hammonds, your bare minimum butts and seats goal at Summit is 20. Your goal is 30. So 20 to 30 is your range that you're working with there. Arkansas currently has 34 people registered. And so total, you'll need 34 to 50. So you're still going to need around 3 per week to meet your minimum or your goal. So your new weekly minimum is 3. Bays and Champ. So Louisiana, bare minimum of 75 butts in seats from Louisiana, goal of 100. So currently Louisiana's at 90 registrants total. You'll need to be at 125 to 167 total to reach your minimum to goal, which means that your new weekly goal between the two of you is 5 to 10. So divide that up how you think is fair. Joe also has to oversee Oklahoma, which I'm going to get to. So Oklahoma, bare minimum expectation of 8 people, butts and seats from Oklahoma. Goal of 12. And currently, Joe, you are at 10 people registered for Summit. So to account for attrition, you need 14 to 20 total people registered by Summit, which is 1 to 2 people per week from Oklahoma. All right. So that's a lot of numbers. Is everyone clear on their new weekly expectation, their total expectation, their goal, all of that good stuff? Okay.
Yes.
Woo. Wow, that was a lot. So cool. I think that will really help, especially for people like Caleb Moore, who needs to really be focusing on travel for North Dakota people rather than recruitment. Like, you've got the people locked in. We need to focus on how we're going to get them there. Versus, obviously, Mike, a lot of your people live right up the road. So it's just more going to be recruitment to make sure that we have enough people that we can account for the people that are just going to drop off last second, because it's inevitable. Some people will. Alrighty. Great. So that is Summit. I'm trying to think of additional Summit things that we figured out. Obviously, for talking points, in addition to Ron Paul, we have the drug war debate, which, by the way, Mike, I've been working through some Houston normal contacts, and they are super freaking hyped about Summit. And a lot of them are like, yeah, I talked to Mike Anderson. So I've been giving you referral credit for that. But yeah, lots of people are turning up from there. So we've got the drug war debate, which is where that came from. And we also have our state legislator panel announced. So there's someone from Nebraska, someone from Kansas, someone from Texas, maybe someone from Arizona on that, but diverse crowd, some Republicans, some Libertarians. So pretty cool. In addition to that, I don't think there's anything major that has been announced. I think that the call yesterday went pretty good, minus apparently me going dark for the last 10 minutes. So that was great. But I sent out the follow-up email to everyone and then followed up with everyone via text. So people should have gotten those details, no problem. Obviously, if there's any questions about anything additional, refer people to me and everything. So the only other thing about Summit is that the group is mostly me keeping the party going, which is fine, but like no one's going to show up to Summit if there's like one person super freaking excited and just a bunch of people responding. So one thing is just to respond whenever I have some lame poll or something in the Summit group. I don't care if you think it's lame, like heart it and comment and tag people, please, because that's how we keep the hype going. And also, y'all, please post in there. Like, I don't want to create some additional expectation weekly for y'all to post in there. But like, if someone that you're excited that registered, just tag them in a post. Hey, so-and-so registered. So excited for, you know, my state to turn up for Summit. That's all you need, you know? So please be more active in the group. We're creating a perception, obviously. So yeah, and obviously as you start to get people registered, if you have them on Facebook, add them to the group as well. And then y'all have the address. I did send out some hotel options, although I was looking and Airbnb is just going to be 9 times out of 10 cheaper. So please look at Airbnbs, especially randomly in Houston, because I've stayed in Airbnbs other places too. Houston is like weirdly cheap. So look into that as well if you're looking for housing for your people. But what I'm going to say is that I know this is a new month now, so chapter creation should be the top priority for the first like week or two until you get your chapter out of the way. We do need to start focusing on confirmation, especially for those people that have a distance to go, which is mostly everyone except for Louisiana, Texas, and some parts of Arkansas. So carpools are going to be so important, and at least get those gears turning, especially for people like UL Lafayette, who has like 50 people coming or something like that. Just start thinking about carpools, make sure you have enough cars and all that. Great. So any questions about Summit from anyone? Logistics or otherwise?
I have a question. So like, let's say, so for example, since I'm here on the campaign and like someone wants to register, but they're like not from New Mexico, that doesn't go towards the New Mexico like goal, right? Like I would have to do this person and another person.
Correct. Yeah. So obviously if you register them, you're eligible for the bonus and everything. Like you definitely get credit for bringing that person to Summit. But something that, especially when I was talking to Devin, became apparent is like, overall getting registrants is fantastic. And I want people to get whoever they can registered. But I don't ever want it to take away from getting people from your state to Summit. So like in his case, it was something like meeting the minimum sometimes meant looking outside the state, and that was taken away from getting his people bus tickets and everything. So like definitely prioritize your state. But yes, if you find anyone additional, you will get the referral credit, you will get the bonus and all of that, but it doesn't count towards your minimum from your state. Good question. All right. Any other questions about Summit logistically or otherwise from any of y'all? Okay, cool. So the last thing that I want to end with is, again, it is a new month, and I'll be honest, like this month was difficult for everyone. Like state chairs didn't meet their minimums until the end or at all of the month. And also like just as a region, I want the team back that I had last month. So this is a fresh start for everyone. Whatever the mentality was this month, please just flip the page and create the possibility of being the best activist that you can be. This is going to be a huge month, and it's the last month before our Summit month. And so, I mean, it really is crunch time. This is where we make or break the day that we've been working towards all semester. Oh, and I'm just realizing one thing that I completely forgot that I need to cover. But yeah, this month is when we have to turn it around. And nice little kick in the butt is March Madness. So for all of my competitive people on the call, which as far as I understand is every state chair ever, y'all will be able to go, you know.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I made it.
Woo! Party can start now. So I was just getting into March Madness, and then there's one other thing that I need to cover, and then I'll let y'all go. March Madness points go as follows, and if you look over here, you'll see this. You'll see this on the broadcast tomorrow, but you're all essentially being pit in a bracket against everyone else in the country. And last year, Central was eliminated by like, well, no, I think Jason actually lasted quite a long time last year. But anyway, y'all are awesome. I want to take home the gold with one of you winning bragging rights. And so how it goes is you win points similar to Liberty points. So
I can't hear you at all.
You can't hear me? Can anyone hear me?
You're loud and clear, Britt.
You can, Mike? Okay. Sorry, Caleb. I don't really know what's going on there. Potentially.
Yeah, I promise I'm not doing the Michael Wolf thing. I honestly can't hear you.
All right.
I'm literally not hearing anything.
Okay. Oh, computer. I meant computer, obviously.
Yeah, my computer volume's on.
Okay.
I'm just not getting any audio.
All right.
Like, I don't know. Wait, I might be able to get it on my phone. It usually works when I'm on the phone Hangouts.
Okay. You're not going to hear this, but just you're going to have to watch the video after. So it's recorded and everything, so you should be good to go there. So let's just run through March Madness really quickly, and then I do want to touch on Bring Them Home, because obviously new activism event, we need to make sure we're all clear on how to pitch that to people. And then I'll let everyone go. So March Madness, this is how you earn points. And Caleb, I'm going to mute you right now because, all right. So 2 points for every summit registration that you get. So 2 points for summit registrants, 50 points for chapter creation, 50 points for free speech triggers, 15 points for campus invasions. That's either existing campuses or for creation. So 15 points for those, 30 points for activating a chapter. Haven't heard that in a while. We haven't been focusing on activation, but it's so important. So 30 points for activating a chapter and 10 points per blog post that is submitted for one of your chapters, obviously discluding your own personal chapter. So that's how you win points for March Madness. And yeah, so pretty exciting. And they will be having like some type of broadcast. Some of the RDs and Alex are going to just go through how it all works and go through who you're initially pit up against. I was told not to tell you in the Hangout tonight so that you would tune into the broadcast tomorrow. So that'll be on the LT page and everything. And obviously the winner gets the Justin Amash signed Constitution, which is pretty dope. And more importantly, bragging rights. So you get to be the top state chair in the nation until next March Madness, which is pretty darn cool. So yeah, that's March Madness. Any questions about that? Y'all are so quiet. And I can't see anyone's face except for Jessamyn's, but I do enjoy Jessamyn's face, so this is fun. Great. So the last thing that I want to cover is Bring Them Home. We do have these little things that we've printed out that are going to go in activism kits, but I know that this came all of a sudden, and I know it's an additional priority, and trust me, it's striking me like it came all of a sudden, and it's a lot of work too, but it's something that's so important, and a lot of our chapters are looking for second or third events to do, and this is the perfect event. So tagline is support the troops and the wars. Essentially what we're saying is we're backing up Rand Paul and his notion of a sober foreign policy that involves taking our people home and taking care of them once they're here, right? Like we're not anti-troop. We are pro-peace and, you know, anti-never-ending wars that aren't doing us any good. And so what the activism event looks like on campus is there are 3 parts. So first part is the on-campus experience. What this is going to look like is in the kit, there will be a sign that will fold out double, and it will say military checkpoint. So that's what your table is supposed to represent, as a military checkpoint. People are going to see those signs come up, to which point you say, hey, you've been drafted into the military. Let's see what country you're going to go to. So you give them what we're calling a draft card. It's actually a palm card, has information about regime change and all that fun stuff. And in each kit, there will be a spinner, similar to like a Twister spinner, if you've ever played Twister, except for instead of the poly spot you're supposed to land on, it's what country you're supposed to go to. And so they will land on whatever country, which, by the way, guys, I want to show you this. This isn't what's going to be in kits. If you can see in the corner there, there's a wheel. Your wheels are obviously not going to be as big as that wheel. They're going to be something like this size. But they're going to spin, they're going to land on a country, and then you're going to have a sheet that will have facts about that country. So like Iran or something. When we invaded, what our presence is, how many casualties there have been, American or otherwise, and just some like pretty in-your-face facts about how our intervention has drastically harmed the people there and our own troops. So you're going to read that off. Once they're bought in, you're going to say, all right, well, you're welcome to come to our meeting and learn more about foreign intervention. Obviously, it's not a conversation that you can have at the table, but just generally explain blowback and do the spinner. Then part 2 of Bring Them Home is the meeting experience. So the day of action that we're pushing chapters to do their activism event on is March 20th. And the significance of that date is that was when we invaded Iraq. And that was also when my little brothers were born. Fun fact. But anyway, all of our activism events are going to be on that day. And also on that day, we're going to have a live stream with a Cato scholar who will be talking about foreign intervention and all that fun stuff. So you'll be able to bring people to the meeting, have like, a brief introduction, have people actually tune into that live stream. And it'll be a really cool way to have people learn more about blowback and foreign intervention. And then the last component, which we've never done before, as a component of an activism event, is a service component. So there's a few different options of what you can do for your service component, all of which include, collecting items. So you can do like a can drive. What we'll do is we'll connect chapters individually with VFWs in the area. And each Veterans of Foreign War will have local knowledge as far as like what veterans need in that area. So for example, one option is a can drive. So collecting goods for veterans that we haven't properly taken care of that are, living here. And it's just really a good way to put our money where our mouth is. Like, yes, we are not anti-troop. We are anti-war. And actually, we're going to take care of our troops once they've come home and the government has done nothing to help them, right? And so a can drive or creating care packages for people overseas. I'll send you all of the options. For our best chapters, we do want all of you, for sure, if you have a personal chapter, definitely want to include the service component there. And then some of our best chapters also we want to include this. It's definitely not mandatory, but it is a great way to earn media and just really knock the event out of the park. So let's Bring Them Home. Any questions about that? Do you feel comfortable talking about it with chapter leaders? Any feedback about if you think it's going to be a hit or not? Anything like that? Quiet group. Okay. I really think that this is something that, especially with the chapters that I have talked to, people are excited about it. They were wanting to do something like pin the drone on the war zone anyway, so this is coming at like the perfect time. Blah, blah, blah. There's something that will appeal to each chapter, and so I expect a lot of chapters to do this, and I really need your help pitching this to chapters. So hopefully within the next week or two, we'll have most of our chapters applied for this before March 20th, which is the date that we're having our day of action. And then chapters are welcome to plan after that date as well for their event. If they can't do it directly on March 20th, it's fine. I think it's like a Tuesday or Thursday. Great. Okay, I'll leave off on the note that I previously said, which is it's a new month. Please look at your state and figure out what you want to accomplish in the next month. Like, be very purposeful. This is something that we're trying to do in the office too. Is just like every day, figure out what your priorities are and act on them to create value in your states. And another thing is just I'm very much stressing minimums and, you know, mastering the basics is the first step to getting ahead in your state. So updating chapter notes weekly, regular chapter communication, and again, for people that joined a little bit late, call me during your weekly call time. Call me when you're plugging in for office hours, and I'll send those up back out to y'all in case you've forgotten or have changed your office hours and need me to update them. Cool. Great. All right, that's all I have for everyone. If you have a question or anything, feel free to stay on. If not, you're welcome to go. And I love you all very dearly. Let's have a better month this month than we did last month, okay? Okay. All right. Bye, guys.
We love you too.
Aw. Okay. I'm going to let everyone go. It doesn't seem like anyone has questions. Bye.
Oh, happy birthday, Mike.
Oh, happy birthday, Mike. We should have sang you happy birthday. It's going to be awesome now with like 3 of us on, but.
Yeah, happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Yeah. Go out and have fun for us all right?
Yeah, I'm trying to do homework and like start the Hangout chapter and all sorts of stuff. So I'll see what's going on, but I'm still busy.
Hard worker.
Good man, good man.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.
Love y'all.
See you. Bye-bye.
Hey.